you think of the word charming, this is what the show comes to mind. The show has such a style. It has such a look to it. It has such a visual language that is nothing like we've seen in the MCU before. We're seeing different lighting choices. We're seeing different ways of showing information on screen. And it has almost like a scrapbook feel to it. And it's just beautiful to look at.
Hello and welcome to the Movie Podcast spoiler-free review of Miss Marvel Episode 1 and Dos. That is Spanish. I should have chose Urdu as my second language of choice there, but I decided to be a little different, you know? And of course, the voice you're hearing today and the face you're seeing on YouTube is Shahbaz. Welcome to me. And the other faces and silent voices right now are Daniel and Anthony. Let's start off with Anthony. Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
You having a good time? You're laughing a lot.
I'm already done for the night, but yes, I am doing well.
You're doing great. Okay, that's good to hear. Daniel, what about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm just curious, what is the Urdu number for 2?
Honestly, it's not even that far from what I said before. Instead of dos, it's do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like take the S.
Sorry, were you just counting for the audio listener? Shay was just counting in his head, and he literally was like using his fingers. I'm like, dude, it's to 2.
1, 2.
Why are you using your fingers?
Just in case you make mistakes out there, and the audience will never forgive you.
No, it's true. You're right, and I'm glad we were able to approach this positively and come to the right resolution.
Well,
so
I'm glad that also before we started the review, you're like, hey, Shahbaz, did you want to host this episode? And I'm like, huh.
Well,
why are you asking me?
We wanted you to host.
I wonder why.
You wanted me to host. Oh, yeah. You guys are so
Listen,
kind.
Shay, at the end of the day, we all know I'm the star of the show. And I'm like, it's time to give somebody else time. And I'll be honest with you. I asked Anthony first.
Yes.
And then Anthony's like, maybe let's ask Shay.
And he's like, I can't even say Pakistan. And then he said it right there. Like,
just sweat comes down my forehead.
So in India, it's not India, Anthony. Right.
Honestly, I just looked at the cast list. I'm like, let me give this to somebody else.
None of these names are being pronounced by you guys today.
Is this English? I'm like, they're names.
And you guys are canceled. That was quick.
Damn, that's it. 2 minutes and 45 seconds. That's
minute. Remember that because we're
Dominant.
Yeah.
Dominant. You're right.
What's what?
I'm doing good though.
What's you doing good?
Yeah.
What's one? One is ache.
Ache. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, that sounds pretty straight.
Dangerously similar to 8. How are you doing though, Shay?
Doing great.
Doing okay?
Not talking about the weather, but we have a busy week this week. And I'm really excited.
It's been busy already.
We have some great announcements as well. We also have had some great interviews that I can't wait for Daniel to kind of like unpackage that a bit more. But personally, I'm doing great. My allergies are going in and out a little bit too, so that's fine. But other than that, honestly, I'm excited to talk about this show. I've been watching this show nonstop. Well, the amount of times that we're allowed to watch it, and I'm just loving it. I'm just loving it. I can't wait to watch it when. That episode 3, 4, I think it's 6 episodes? Yeah.
It is a 6-episode series.
I can't wait for the rest of them. It's just a really, really fun, exciting show, and I can't wait to talk more about it. But as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday and watch out throughout the week for our review episodes on all the latest movies and series, kind of like this one today. And make sure you're following us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, and you can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're still in the hunt for 200 5-star reviews. We've gotten some great reviews on Spotify. They can't leave comments though, but people are giving us 5 stars, and I really, really appreciate that. We all do.
Spotify is catching up to Apple Podcasts.
It is.
Like Spotify started late, and already just inside baseball for the show. Like Spotify has now surpassed our downloads on Apple Podcasts. It's edging closer and closer to surpassing the amount of reviews we have. So, and Spotify just shouted us out as well too on the weekend.
Yeah,
it's like, listen, Spotify listeners, you're keeping the show pushing forward. So Apple Podcast listeners, you got to start listening on multiple devices now. If you want to win this fight, that's what you got to do.
And of course, we always want to promote rivalry and violence. So we want to make sure that people are fighting in the streets for us, right?
That's
I
how we do it
thought
here
you
on
were
the show.
gonna. I thought I was like, what is he saying? I'm like, wait, what?
Is this the Pakistan episode? Is that why?
Wait, is it? Anthony's like, did I leave that in the script? Did I write that? No.
No, please don't fight anybody in the streets about your love
No
for Spotify
fighting, no
or,
fighting,
or,
no
or
fighting.
It's all
Apple
love.
Podcasts.
It's all love.
Yeah, it's all love.
all
And of
love.
course, tell us how much you love us and the show and movies by writing into hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. No P.O. Box, no mail-in letters, please, because we don't have time to read those, but your emails and comments we love to read, especially comments on Apple Podcasts, because that's the only place you can really leave a comment. We love to read
Yeah, unless
those.
you want to, DM us on Instagram or Twitter, you could do that too.
You can also do that as well.
Or you know what? Like we should do. Remember back. This is again. I'm sure shows in the U.S. did this, but back in the TVO Kids days, back in the CBC Kids days, you could send in PO Box so and so, and then we'll read out your birthday card or read out your birthday message. Let's start out reading birthday messages. If you want to read a birthday message in the show, write it in. We'll read it on the podcast.
Like YTV, like The Zone when they used to do it on The Zone.
Yes.
Yeah, like The Zone did, like TVO Kids did.
Arcade
happy
Top
birthday,
10.
happy 4th birthday to Daniel. And then
Well, a fourth
they never
birthday,
read mine on
damn.
the show. Yeah, they
You're
never
quite
read
young.
mine.
Or like breakfast television all of a sudden.
Yes, we should definitely
Breakfast
read out
television, yeah.
birthdays and shout outs. Maybe if you have a special shout out, like you want to get married to somebody and you want us to propose to them for you, we could do that.
Has anyone? No one's proposed on our show yet.
No.
That could be a big market for us to get into. We'll talk about that later. We'll sidebar that.
We'll save that for right after this episode. But also, while you're looking at us on youtube.com/TheMoviePodcast, you can also subscribe to us. At the bottom right over there, there's a little button. It's in red, and it says subscribe. It's one word, actually. I split it into two.
And in Urdu, Shay, what is subscribe?
I actually don't know. I don't know what it is in Urdu. But for my Urdu listeners, you can subscribe and then comment and let us know what it is in Urdu. And then maybe I'll add that to my vocabulary. And you can check out our show notes for all of that stuff right down below and join our Discord. We've had a lot of people joining our Discord lately, and we've been talking about a lot of controversial things in there, haven't we?
A lot of violence, a lot of inciting violence.
A lot of inciting violence.
No, it's a nice, warm, fuzzy spot if you want to talk about movies, if you want to talk about, what you've been watching or some cool stuff that you're doing too, share it with us. We'd love to see what you're up to.
We
and
love
to see what you're watching and what you're enjoying, and we love that. So let's keep the conversation going. That's the best place to do it off air with us, right?
It's true. Now, for our morning announcements, I'm going to hand it over to Daniel.
Good morning, students. No, today, listen, you already know what I'm going to say. There's lots of ways to support the movie podcast. This is my New Zealand accent. I'm not sure.
Oh, that was your Pakistani accent.
That was my. Well, we'll see. There's lots of different ways to support the show. Obviously, Shay mentioned following us on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. We're doing a giveaway right now, and I want to send a call out to all Space Rangers in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. I was like, what's the last city? Vancouver. If you want to win, if you want a chance to win tickets to see the Lightyear movie early, head over to our Twitter page, head over to our Instagram page. You'll see the Lightyear post. You'll be able to enter which city you want to watch it in. And, make sure you're following us on that social platform as well, too. We're giving away tickets for each of the cities listed. We're so excited to be partnering again with our friends at Disney. We're continuing building that friendship with them. And obviously, we're reviewing a Disney show right now. But this is a big one for us. We are so excited for Lightyear. We love Pixar. And this has been a movie that we've been looking forward to for a very, very long time. And we want to give you the chance to see it early as well, so you could feel like us. Because like we always say, you're not cool unless you see movies early. I think that is the motto of our show. Is that not? It's about that, right? It's similar.
I'd say you're pretty much on the ball.
On the ball.
Yeah, so if you want to be cool, if you want to support the show, please enter that giveaway. That'd be awesome, and it gives you a chance to see it early. Also, make sure you check out all of the incredible episodes that we have on the Movie Podcast. We just released our review of The Boys, episodes 1 to 3. We have our Obi-Wan Kenobi ongoing weekly review and spoiler discussion that we're doing, Crimes of the Future, and we just dropped an interview with Miss Marvel directors and executive producers Adil and Bilall, who are the directors of this episode and episode 6 of Miss Marvel. And again, we're going to be talking a lot about the show in the next few seconds, but I just really want to make sure you go check out that episode, watch it on YouTube, download it on whatever podcast feed you're listening to us on. That was such a fun interview. We have them for a very short time, but they are absolutely electric. They are infectious. Their positivity and their just passion for movies and shows just shines through. And in that 5 minutes, you're going to feel like you were listening to it. It's going to feel longer than it is because you don't want it to end. It's just so good. So please go check that out. We had a great time with them. Also, merch. Shay's rocking the movie podcast shirt right now. If you want to help us support, keep the lights and the mics on. That's another great way to do it, and you can look dope while doing it.
Do I look dope?
You look dope while you're hosting the show. 100%.
You look DOPE.
Oh, I'm glad you can spell. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Again, we are talking about Miss Marvel, and obviously we're talking about episodes 1 and 2 today. This will be spoiler free, but Miss Marvel is also one of the series that has a bunch of different directors kind of going in. So I'm going to list off the directors that we kind of have throughout the series. We have Adil Arbi, Bilall, Fallah, Meera, Menon, and Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. And this series is starring Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel or Kamala Khan, Aramis Knight, Saagar Shaikh, Rish Shah, Zenobia Shroff, Mohan Kapur, Matt Lintz, Yasmeen Fletcher, Laith Nakli, Azhar Usman, Travina Springer, and Nimra Bucha. And this show will be coming out June 8th, episode 1 will. Thank you again to our friends over at Disney Studios Canada for giving us the episodes to watch. So huge shout out to them. I'm going to kick it over to Daniel with our synopsis.
Marvel Studios' Miss Marvel is a new original series that introduces Kamala Khan, a Muslim American teenager growing up in Jersey City. An avid gamer and voracious fan fiction scribe, Kamala is a superhero mega fan with an oversized imagination, particularly when it comes to Captain Marvel. Yet, Kamala feels like she doesn't fit in school and sometimes even at home. That is, until she gets superpowers like the heroes she's always looked up to. Life gets better with superpowers, right?
I would say they do, but it definitely still adds, when great power comes great responsibility. Like, I think that kind of sums it up. But let's jump into our first reactions by Anthony.
I absolutely love Miss Marvel. Coming from Moon Knight, which I wasn't a huge fan of, I was a little worried getting into another Marvel series so close, and really being a character like Miss Marvel, I was again worried that this is maybe a show that they might not dive into the full aspect of her life and all that. But then once reading it and learning about everyone that was part of the comic book series, or the main creator was also part of this series on Disney Plus, and I absolutely loved it. From first episode to the second episode, it got me. It was funny. It was endearing. It had the action. It had everything that I wanted in a Marvel series. And it really encapsulated that first, we'll say, 10 issues of Miss Marvel into this show. It's fantastic. Everything from it is fantastic. I'm just shocked. Like I got hooked on the family aspect of Miss Marvel. It was just something that I kind of related to and understood, and understood, like, when you live in a family like that and how protective they are of you, and they want you to grow up and kind of be this person, but you want to be something else. It was super, super relatable. And being a comic book fan as well, I was relatable to that. But everything from this show is fantastic. I don't know what else to say. It's only 2 episodes, but those 2 episodes really got me hooked, and I can't wait to see the next 4. I can count 4.
No, you're
and Shay,
right.
the Urdu word for 4,
Char.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're welcome. I'm glad to teach you guys 1, 2, and 4 so far. 3 we'll leave for another day. We'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, 3 will lay for episode 3.
All I have to say
keep
is
it secret.
Iman killed this role. Like, she killed Miss Marvel in a good sense. I'm just saying she killed it.
She murdered everybody.
This is her first real big performance. And again, I was a little worried too. It's like, oh, this is like, when you hire someone who hasn't been in the light like that. Like, I keep really going back to like Star Wars when they hired the kid to play Anakin, and then they had Hayden Christensen play. And there's a lot of pressure playing these characters, especially when you're a newcomer, but
Yeah.
she fucking killed this role. Like, did an amazing job with it, and I so happy for her. I can't wait to see her in like other movies with playing this character.
No,
Uh,
I absolutely agree with you. Like she was, and again, we'll dive deeper into how her performance was. But before we do that, Daniel, I would love to hear your first reactions about Miss Marvel's episode 1 and 2.
We were very lucky that we got to watch the show, and it's been kind of living with us for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm completely charmed by this show. This show is just so, like, when you think of the word charming, this is what the show comes to mind. The show has such a style, it has such a look to it, it has such a visual language that is nothing like we've seen in the MCU before. We're seeing different lighting choices, we're seeing different ways of showing information on screen, and it has almost like a scrapbook feel to it, and it's just beautiful to look at. You've seen characters like text messaging, and the text messages are appearing in the world at some point. It reminds me a little bit of Atlanta, but like dialed up to 11, where it's like they're messaging each other, and it's appearing on neon signs, it's appearing in street art, it's appearing on the tapestry of her, like her blanket. It's just so cool seeing how this story is told. Set that to also an awesome soundtrack and a performance from Iman Vellani, who is just perfect and destined to become one of the best additions of the MCU. Iman is perfect as Kamala, and she's a star, and she's just so fun to watch. She's just so charismatic. She's just so funny. And there's moments in episode 1 and 2 where she is Kamala. Like she is the character that we've loved from the comic books, and we've only known her in the comics for about 10 years, but she just has that just goofy, humorous, like that fangirl in her that you're just rooting for her right away. And I just love that about her. She's just so funny and she's so charming, she's so likable. And the show has like it has little hints of like Spider-Man Homecoming and just just vibes of shows that I would have grown up watching. And our friend of the show, Eric from Entitled Movie Podcast said, like, it feels like a YTV show, or a show that we would have seen on Nickelodeon, but like with a higher budget. And I totally get those vibes because it just feels so unique and distinct, and again, it speaks to the spectrum of stories we're able to tell in the MCU, that we could have something very grounded and very just more youth focused like Miss Marvel, but also have stories like Moon Knight, or have stories like Eternals, which are a little bit more skewing the older audience. And I think that's what's so important with the MCU now, and with Phase 4, with Kevin Feige just recently said that, the Marvel Studios logo, that means that you're going to expect something that it's going to be from this world, and you're going to expect a certain quality from it, but you're also means that that's going to be something that could apply to so many different ages. And I think that's really cool, and I think Miss Marvel is such a great show, and to have this and Obi-Wan happening week after week, that's pretty damn impressive, and that's what we're looking for when it comes to streaming services and quality. It's stuff like this. Phenomenal.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we're totally being fed right now on Disney Plus. They've kept that price point in such a good spot, and yet we're getting stuffed with the amount of content we're getting. And Disney Plus has been a phenomenal experience so far. In terms of how I've been feeling about the show, I kind of did hint at it towards the beginning that I loved it. I absolutely had a great time with it, and I think what I loved about it the most was being able to be seen. I live in a Pakistani household, and my family, while they're not as traditional as as displayed in the show. I have come across a lot of families like that, and I'm sure when we first moved to Canada, we were probably similar to the lifestyle that you're kind of seeing that Kamala's living in. I also have a sister, and she's going into high school, and I feel like when this show's out, I can't wait to show it to her, because I'm going to be like, hey, look, this is representation. This is something that you're probably not seeing when you're watching TV. To kind of dive into a bit of what episode 1 and 2 are, without getting into spoilers, we're really introduced to Iman's character as Kamala Khan, her friend Nakia, and Bruno. Was it Bruno? Bruno, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it's Bruno.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're kind of just going around with them, living their day to day life. They're in high school. They're going through the high school stuff. Like, social media is really big. Obviously, when us three were in high school, social media really wasn't that prominent. It didn't.
It wasn't what it was
No,
now,
it
right?
wasn't.
Like, it was Facebook and Twitter
and
ish.
yeah, and like a lot of that stuff also still like it didn't. It was MSN really that kind of was the main thing that we used.
That's where the drama was.
That's where the
right?
drama was. Yeah.
That's where the real drama was.
And so we're seeing their lives and we're kind of seeing what's happening. And then through the process, you know, Kamala comes across this bracelet that when she's at Avengers Con, it kind of gives her powers that we kind of see in the trailer. And from there, we're kind of off. And there's some great surprises that come in here and there. And I'd say for episode 1, especially, there is an after credit scene. So make sure you kind of catch that so that when you get into episode 2, you're kind of like, oh, I know where this came from, why this storyline started. But I'm loving it. I love seeing my culture being represented, my religion being represented, and also being respected. When you have a lot of different people from a lot of different faiths and backgrounds working on a TV show like this, even though we know that the main crew is from represented countries and is usually Islamic, there's still a lot of areas that you can kind of fall into that are misses or areas that may not be as accurate. But I think that if these people are putting in their love and effort into it, they're coming at it with their experiences. And it's so easy for us to be like, you know, a lot of Muslims or a lot of Pakistanis might say like, well, that's how my family's like. That's fine. At the end of the day, we're getting that representation and we're still getting it from some people's sources. There will be people that did live like this, that did go through this, and that to them is that connection that they need. And I think that's what's the most important part of it. I loved, first of all, I love the way that you threw in tapestry there, Daniel. You just dropped that word in there like it was no big deal.
I just want to confirm 2 things. What's the Urdu word for tapestry? Also, number 2, tapestry is not a word just from that part of the world, though.
Oh,
is
no,
it?
That's not what I said.
Okay.
No,
I
said
I thought you were just like, oh, look at the white boy using tapestry.
No. When you said it, I was like, oh, damn, tapestry. Wow, I haven't.
Damn, he dropped tapestry in this.
We're allowed
episode.
to use that word this week. I didn't realize. My bad.
That's a $20 word.
No, that was good. Our budget's getting a lot higher. We've been doing great.
It's true.
No, I love that we do
a
that.
A lot of shirts are being bought
because when we did see, you know, the text appearing in the tapestry, we did see, you know, the words appearing everywhere. There's a level to it that a lot of TV shows and movies do, but it can come off a little cheesy sometimes, or it can come off where it looks like it's really like in your face. This show does it in a way where sometimes you might not even notice they're talking about stuff, and what they're talking about is being visualized on behind you. So there's so much that this show has done that I feel like it elevates the Disney Plus Marvel series, but it elevates Marvel in general. It creates a whole new style for Marvel that I wasn't expecting, but I'm falling in love with it because it's so accurate, and I just love it. And yeah, Daniel, please go ahead.
What I was going to say, what I think is so important about that, and just to build off what you were saying, Shay, is that you're looking at the world of Marvel Comics, and Marvel Comics have been around for 70 years, 70 or more years at this point. We're in a place right now that all those comics look different from one another. And for a long time, the MCU felt like it had a look to it. And if you look at the first 3 phases especially, the MCU had a very distinct look, and that was something that was criticized, which people get like, yeah, you know, this is always in the same world. These characters all have to feel like they're connected to one another. When you look at phase 4 is just scattered across the map visually. And I think that's so important because now you're embracing even more a different visual language for each project. And that's what Marvel needs to stay fresh. And this show is fresh to death. This is what Marvel needs to keep doing to bring stories from the comic books that aren't going to be, you know, connected to each other, but just they exist within this world. Like you look at Moon Knight, and to follow Moon Knight up, we had Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and then we have Miss Marvel. 3 projects that look visually so different from one another, but because they all are bringing their own unique visual language and characters and backstory to them, when these characters do eventually show up on screen together at some point, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so damn cool.
You're absolutely right. There's that style that we're not used to seeing, and phase 4 really is kind of branching out everywhere. I did want to ask you guys, what did you think about her powers being changed, or as they look a little different, let's just say, compared to what we're used to seeing in the comics? Anthony, I'll start off with you.
It didn't bother me. I think it's better off this way because it disconnects her from the stretchiness of other characters in the Marvel universe. Because when you think of someone who has like stretchy powers, you think of Mr. Fantastic. but I like her cosmic energy power and how she utilizes it to either use as a punch or a stepping stone to something to at least grab it. We'll say run on air. So it's a really
Right.
cool power to have. I wasn't whenever I saw her in the comics with the stretchiness, I always thought of Mr. Fantastic, and I thought that's such a strange power to add to a character when you already have someone like that. I think what we created now, and again, this is not a huge change because the creator of the comics was part of this show, so it's not like producers are taking over and trying to change what we love so much from that world. They are actually working with these creators from the original to make these things work, and they do work. And I think her powers are fantastic. It's also like
Yeah.
it gets to points where she's like, well, am I as guardian? Am I an eternal? Am I like so there's a lot of like plays into where her power comes from, which is
Right.
interesting because right now we don't know. We don't know where her power comes from.
No, you're right. Like even when I read the comics, I was like, okay, yeah, it's cool that she's stretchy. And even playing in the Marvel Avengers game, it's you can't help but just be like, well, that's just Mr. Fantastic. Like why doesn't she have her own uniqueness to it? But Dana, what about yourself?
Um, Honestly, when that change was kind of shown off, it was like, oh, this is a little like a like Green Lantern esque like type of power. But again, we're two episodes into it. We're not going to spoil anything that kind of happens, but we are, and you've seen from posters and you've seen some trailers that we are getting looks from the comic books where we're seeing like the bigger hands come
Mhm.
out and things like that. So these are definitely nods to the comic books and to these characters. Yes, the stretchiness was a big part of Kamala's powers and her dealing with that, but again, this is the multiverse of different Marvel movies and shows at this point where, this is what it looks like in this universe. And we don't know what the final form of her powers are going to look like. Maybe it changes or it evolves as the show goes on or as we'll see her in the Marvel's film next year. We are we're just two episodes into it. We don't know how this is going to evolve because
Mm-hmm.
character movesets will evolve and we don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the show. But I also think when you have a character like Kamala Khan, who's going to be in the Marvels with, with Captain Marvel and Photon next year, you want to have a character you want to have a reason for her to be in that feels proper,
Yeah.
right? Like she has cosmic powers, it looks like, and it looks like that's going to tie into the grander MCU in a way too. So you did mention I wanted to shout out the Avengers game because with all the faults that game did suffer, the story mode and Kamala Khan, portrayed by Sandra Assad, was fantastic.
It was.
And for us now to have two portrayals of Miss Marvel that are just amazing in both their own respects, we're in a really good time frame right now. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, there's a few things that game got right, and her as Sandra Sod as Miss Marvel was phenomenal, and Vellani in this series is just fantastic. What I really liked with episode 2, sorry, not season 2, episode 2, that first episode kind of ends as we see Kamala like kind of find her powers and Avengers Con and all that stuff. But I love the confidence shifts that we see when it comes to episode 2.
Yeah.
Again, no spoilers, but there's a change in Kamala. It's the same with Peter. Like when we see like Peter get more comfortable with his powers in Homecoming, he's like, no, I can't be in school, man. Like I got people to save. I got things to do. Like it changes. You see that confidence, and you need to have the characters kind of lose in order to really get that. With great power comes great responsibility, and I think Kamala is really going to learn that. And I just also want to say this show is an MCU fan's dream,
Oh yeah.
because there are just nods and hints, and just Kamala is the biggest Avengers fan of all, right? So when you have somebody like that and you have somebody who's a big fan, you're literally like we did with Chip and Dale. I'm like looking at every corner of her room. I'm looking at all the little pop-ups of things in the world and signage in the world, because it's just it's like, or at the beginning of Hawkeye, we're like, oh my god, like Kate Bishop is an Avengers fan, she's a Hawkeye fan. It's cool living in this MCU world now that we've been in for so long, that people are now growing up with the Avengers in that world, and we're seeing that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that was like one of my favorite parts, especially when you're looking at Avenger Con. And I want to talk to you guys about Avenger Con real quick. Now, Kevin Feige during the press conference did say that, hey, that's something that we would love to do one day, Avenger Con, make it real. First of all, Kevin, if you're listening, because I'm sure you are, we'd love
Kevin's a big fan of the show.
we would love to somehow be involved with Avenger Con, and on top
Mhm.
of that, we would love to see it actually happen because it would be crazy. Like it would be absolute joy. It would look so good, and I'd be so excited to go there and gain my superpowers as well.
What will your superpowers be, Shay?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I'd want to be able to fly.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Nothing too. You know what? I feel like with flying, the responsibility level is not too big. Like I can coast by it. Like I don't have to like.
Yeah, literally.
Like I
fly,
can
yeah.
just save a cat from a tree or just
Yeah,
save
it's like,
people.
okay, guys, cool. Whoop.
Yeah, but like if I'm really strong, then it's like, oh, you got to
Yeah.
beat this villain up, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
What would yours be?
Or you're just holding your computer and it's like, oh no, not again.
Just drinking a simple glass of water, just holding it so gently.
Yeah.
What would yours be?
There's a word. There's a. Well, mine be. Oh man. Yeah. Honestly, whenever I think of superpowers, I just go to like classic Superman. Like I just want.
So
let me just be-
ultimate strength and ultimate.
Yeah, it's just I just want to buff all my stats to 10. You know what I mean? Like strength,
It's just
speed,
too much responsibility.
like heat. It's a lot. It's a lot. But there's a line that again it revolves to the show, and I was just thinking about it because of Superman, and we were talking about responsibility. That like there's a line in the Justice League show, the animated show, where Superman is fighting. I believe he's fighting. Who's that big guy? That's not Darkseid in the DCU. Who's the other big guy? Mongol? Could be Mongol.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
he's like, I feel like I live in a world of cardboard. And I'm like, because he's just like always just so like careful what he's doing.
Mhm.
And I what I really like that Kamala now is realizing that she's having these powers, but there is a lot more to this world that she's going to soon learn as this episode ends.
Yeah.
Because it feels like she's really going into diving deep into something within her family, within her world that she's about to get woken up to, and that she's going to have to be careful. Which is it's really exciting.
Oh yeah. Anthony, I do have to ask you though, what would your power be?
I think my power would be that I'm just super rich.
So
So
Batman.
you just like shit money? Is that it? Or
No.
Kiss your parents goodbye, Anthony.
I just have a lot of money, and
Uh-huh.
that's my power.
Damn.
Like Batman or Iron Man. I'm smart too.
Damn.
Not like super smart.
They're also really smart. Like they're like intelligent as fuck.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good.
Anthony's response time on that was just like, "Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
That is true.
that is correct."
No,
Yes.
that's awesome. All right. Well, we've talked about Miss Marvel a lot, and I'm sure we're gonna keep talking about it because there's more episodes coming, and we can't wait to review those. But let's jump into our final recommendations. Daniel, let's start off with you. What would you like to tell everybody about Miss Marvel?
What could we say that we haven't already said at this point? Honestly, this show is just beautiful. It's so charming. It's full of style. This is what you want from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is new stories. This is diverse stories. This is stories that are a reflection of characters and culture that we don't always get shown to us, and not just Marvel, but across the board in Hollywood. And to see it done, I think, with such, I don't want to say being so effortless, but doing it with such care that it feels like this is natural. This is just another family. This is how they live. And I think that's what's so cool about this show, that it just feels respectful and it feels like it's telling a story that's relatable, that you're going to fall in love with this character. And like we said, Iman Vellani is a damn star, and she's so good in the show. You're going to have a great time with it. Definitely watch it.
Thank you. Anthony, what about yourself?
This is a definite must watch. If you're a Marvel fan, you're Miss Marvel fan, this is the show for you. I am flabbergasted by how much love was put into this show and the creativeness that shoots out from everywhere, and how like beautiful New Jersey is in this show, which New Jersey's not, no offense to New Jersey
Damn
audience, but like,
there goes our New Jersey fans.
what are you
Sorry,
talking
Jersey.
about, New Jersey?
Yeah, the Devils.
But yeah, like just everything about this show is absolutely fantastic, and I fell in love with it with the first episode, and I got hooked with the second, and I can't wait to see the third. And I think our audience would love this show, and they'll fall in love with Miss Marvel and Iman and her portrayal of this fantastic character.
Yeah, thank you for that, Anthony. That's so beautifully put. I would say the same. I would say this is a must watch. This is a fantastic show. As fans of Marvel, you will feel related as South Asians, as Muslims, as anyone who has ever felt unrepresented on screen. They will feel the representation flow through them like the cosmic powers of Miss Marvel. So this is a definite watch it for me. As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday and watch out throughout the week for our review episodes just like this one, where we talk about all the latest movies and series. Make sure to follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can join our Discord and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca as well. Subscribe to us on youtube.com/the movie podcast. And of course, this week we're having a lot of great reviews coming out. There's a little movie coming out. No one's really ever heard of it. It's called Jurassic World Dominion. It stars a bunch of no-name actors like Jeff Goldblum and Sam Neill and Chris Pratt and so on and so forth. We're really excited for that, and we can't wait for everyone to watch it as well. But we're going to be having our review out this week along with Obi-Wan episode 4, right? 4. Yeah. Oh my God, man, we're already there.
Oh, sorry. Is it 4 or is it
Force?
Oh my God, I've heard. No. The 4. What's the word?
Obi-Wan doesn't speak Urdu. They don't have it in space. No, it's Char.
It's Char. That's it.
Yeah, it's like charred on the grill, but without the other letters. And of
I
course,
was going to say like Charizard.
Charizard. Yeah, that's 4 Zards. And of course, we also have a review for Hustle on Netflix. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.